I'm Mia Torres, 27 years old, and the black sheep of my high-flying Miami family, a title I've worn like a badge of honor through years of sideways glances and hushed judgments. While my older brother, Carlos, struts around with his Wall Street swagger, pulling down six figures before he's even 30, and my younger sister, Sophia, dazzles the world with her influencer lifestyle, bankrolled by daddy's deep pockets, I've been the odd one out, the quiet rebel they never knew what to do with. Our family name carries weight down here in South Beach, thanks to my father, Victor Torres, a real estate tycoon who built a fortune turning swampland into million-dollar condos and measures a person's worth by the size of their bank account and the flash of their Rolex. My mother, Lucia, plays the perfect counterpartance, a model, now a trophy wife, who throws galas that could fund a small country, her every move calculated to keep the Torres reputation gleaming like the marble floors of our sprawling 10,000 square F-oot mansion. Growing up, I learned quick that love in this house came with strings conform to their vision of success or get left in the dust. Carlos, with his tailored suits and Harvard MBA framed in Dad's office like a trophy, was the golden boy, destined to take over the empire. Sophia, with her perfect Instagram grid and a following that nets her sponsorships worth thousands a month, was the princess they couldn't stop bragging about. Me? I was the glitch in their perfect system, the kid who'd rather sketch dresses than schmooze at country club brunches, and that made me a target for their pitying smirks and cutting remarks. The Torres family gatherings were legendary black tie affairs with champagne fountains and a guest list that included Miami's elite, from CEOs to politicians. But for me, they were battlegrounds where I'd brace myself for the inevitable digs. Victor would clap Carlos on the back, bragging about his latest deal that raked in millions, while Lucia would gush over Sophia's latest viral post, a sponsored trip to the Bahamas with a hashtag that paid her rent for a year. Then they'd turn to me, their eyes narrowing as if trying to figure out what went wrong. Mia, still messing with those silly drawings? Victor would grunt, swirling his scotch like it was a prop in his power play. Lucia would chime in, her voice dripping with fake concern. Sweetheart, when are you gonna settle down with someone respectable? Those fashion dreams won't pay the bills. I'd force a smile, nodding through the humiliation, my sketchbook hidden under the table, where I doodled to escape their judgment. The mansion itself was a fortress of their success, 20-foot ceilings, a pool that stretched half an acre, and a view of the ocean that screamed wealth. But to me, it felt like a gilded cage, each room echoing with the expectation I'd never meet. My rebellion started small. At 12, I'd sneak into the garage with fabric scraps from Lucia's discarded dresses, teaching myself to sew on an old machine I found in the attic. By 16, I designed a line for a school fashion show, winning first place, but Victor missed it, too busy closing a deal, and Sophia posted a blurry pic of her nails instead. Cute hobby, she texted, racking up likes while I stood alone with my award. Carlos, ever the pragmatist, once cornered me at a family dinner, his cologne overpowering the room. Mia, drop the artsy stuff. Join Dad's firm, real money's there. I shook my head, and he laughed. Suit yourself, but don't expect a handout when it flops. Their words piled up, a weight I carried silently, fueling a fire I didn't yet know how to unleash. The gala tonight, with its crystal chandeliers and catered lobster, was just another stage for their superiority until I decided it'd be the night I flipped the script. I'd spent years building something they'd never see coming, and the thought of their jaws dropping made the sting of their rejection worth it. If you're tuning in from Miami, Louisiana, or anywhere across the states, let me know in the comments and smash that subscribe button. This revenge story is about to hit harder than a hurricane. The Torres family thought they could write me off, but I was about to show them that the quietest voice can roar the loudest when the time's right. The pressure started young. At family brunches, Victor would quiz Carlos on market trends, praising his answers with a rare grin, while Sophia's latest follower count was a topic of awe. I'd sit there, my plate untouched, sketching patterns on napkins, only to have Lucia snatch them away with a tut. "Those hands are for jewelry, not pencils," she'd say, slipping a diamond bracelet onto my wrist that I'd never wear. The mansion's grand dining room, with its 12-foot table and portraits of Tora's ancestors, was where they'd strategize my future law school for Carlos, influencer fame for Sophia, and a suitable marriage for me to some trust fund kid. I rebelled by skipping their planned debutante ball, sneaking out to a community art class instead, earning a lecture from Victor that left my ears ringing. "You're a Torazak like it," he'd bellow, his voice bouncing off the marble walls. But I couldn't. My heart was in the stitches, not the spreadsheets, and every snub pushed me further from their world. Jamal, my neighbor from the less glamorous side of town, was my lifeline. He'd climb the fence to my backyard, bringing stories of his single mom's struggles and dreams of photography. We'd sit under the mango tree, me sewing, him snapping pics with a cheap camera, plotting a future they'd never understand. At 18, when I announced my move to New York for design school, Victor threw a fit, cutting my allowance. "You'll be back begging," he warned. Lucia cried, "What will people think?" But I packed my bags, Jamal's encouragement ringing in my ears. "Show them, Mia. The gala tonight wasn't just a family dinner, it was my stage, and I'd spent years rehearsing for the moment they'd regret every word." The chandeliers gleamed, the guests murmured, and I stood ready, my secret burning brighter than the diamonds around Lucia's neck. This wasn't about their approval anymore, it was about taking it all back, and I was just getting started. From the moment I could hold a pencil, I was different, and my family made sure I knew it. While Carlos was out there mastering lacrosse and Sophia was perfecting her pout for the camera, I'd locked myself in my room, hunched over a sketch pad, dreaming up designs that could change the world, or at least my corner of it. At 8 years old, I stitched my first dress from old curtains. The uneven seams, a badge of pride, but when I showed Victor, he chuckled. "That's cute, but Tora says don't play dress up." Lucia swept in, her heels clicking on the hardwood, and sighed. "Oh, Mia, why can't you be more like Sophia?" Their words stung, but they didn't break Menot yet. My only refuge was Jamal, the scrappy kid next door with a grin that could light up our shady backyard. His mom worked double shifts at a diner, and he'd climb the fence with fabric scraps she'd snag, whispering, "Keep going, Mia, you've got something." We'd sit under the mango tree, me sewing, him snapping blurry photos with a hand-me-down camera, plotting a future where we'd prove them all wrong. By 12, I'd taught myself to sew properly, turning thrift store finds into outfits that turned heads at school. I won a local design contest, my entry a vibrant sundress made from recycled fabric earning a $200 prize and a write-up in the community paper. But Victor missed the ceremony, too busy schmoozing at a real estate gala, and Lucia brushed it off with, "Nice try, dear, but it's not a real career." Sophia posted a selfie with her new phone instead, racking up likes while I stood alone with my trophy, the weight of their indifference sinking in. Jamal was there, though, clapping louder than the crowd, his voice cutting through my doubt. "They don't get it, but I do," he said, and that kept me going. At family dinners, Carlos would flex his latest deal. Sophia would flaunt her sponsored trips, and I'd sit silent, sketching under the table until Lucia snatched my pad away, muttering, "Those hands are for diamonds, not doodles." The mansion's dining room, with its 12-foot chandelier and ancestral portraits, felt like a courtroom where I was always guilty of being myself. High school only amplified the divide. I attended an elite private school where my math and art skills shone, but my parents showed up for Carlos's lacrosse games and Sophia's cheerleading meets, skipping my art exhibit where I won Best in Show with a sustainable jacket design. "Good effort," Victor grunted when I showed him the ribbon, already scrolling his phone for the next big deal. Lucia cooed over Sophia's prom queen crown, ignoring my perfect GPA. Jamal, now my shadow, would sneak into the school's art room with me, his camera capturing my creations. "They're blind," he'd say, adjusting the lens. but the world will see. At 16, I entered a national design competition, pouring months into a collection inspired by Miami's coastlines. I took first place, a $1,000 prize, and a feature in a teen fashion mag, but Victor and Lucia were in Aspen with Carlos, and Sophia posted about her new handbag. The magazine arrived in the mail, and I hid it under my bed, the silence from my family louder than any applause. The rejection shaped me. At family barbecues by the Pulit's 50-foot length, a status symbol Victor would grill Carlos on investment strategies. Lucia would gush over Sophia's latest video hitting 100,000 views, and I'd be the afterthought, nibbling ribs while sketching on napkins. "When are you growing up, Mia?" Victor would ask, his tone laced with disdain. Lucia would add, "A husband would give you purpose," sliding a catalog of eligible bachelors across the table. I'd nod, my mind racing with designs, my heart hardening against their vision. Jamal, always the outsider with me, would sneak me extra fabric from his mom's stash, his words a lifeline. They'll eat their words one day. By 18, their dismissal had forged a steel core in me. I'd show them, not for their approval, but for the girl who believed in her stitches when no one else did. The mansion's echoes of their laughter haunted me, but each snub was a thread in the tapestry of my revenge, woven with every late-night stitch and every dream they'd tried to crush. The tension peaked at a cousin's quinceañera, a lavish affair with a 20-piece band and a dance floor that cost a fortune. Carlos bragged about his bonus, Sophia flaunted her latest endorsement, and Victor toasted their legacy. Then he turned to me, his eyes narrowing. "Mia, when are you ditching that childish hobby? Join me, or you're out." Lucia nodded. "For your own good, dear." I forced a smile, my sketchbook burning a hole in my bag, Jamal's encouragement ringing in my ears. That night, I vowed to build something they couldn't ignore, a silent takeover that would turn their taunts into ash. The gala loomed ahead, a stage for their judgment, but I'd spent years preparing for the moment they'd regret every word. The poolside barbecues, the skipped awards, the diamond catalogs, they'd all fade when I revealed the empire I'd built from their shadows. Jamal's faith, my stitches, and a burning desire for justice were my weapons, and the clock was ticking toward my ultimate revenge. When college loomed on the horizon, the Torres family machine kicked into high gear, mapping out my future with the precision of a military campaign. Victor had it all planned: a business degree at Wharton, a cushy job at his real estate firm, and a marriage to some trust fund kid to seal the deal. "You'll thank me when you're raking in millions," he'd say, his voice booming over dinner, the chandelier casting shadows on his smug grin. Lucia nodded along, flipping through a catalog of suitable bachelors, her manicured nails tapping the glossy pages. "A good match will give you stability, Mia," she cooed, as if my life was a puzzle piece missing its edge. But I had other ideas. At 18, inspired by a design internship I'd snagged through Jamal's connections, I applied to Parsons School of Design in New York with a scholarship application clutched like a lifeline. The night I told them, the dining room went silent, forks paused midair. Sophia's phone slipped from her hand. "Design?" Victor barked, his face turning red. "That's a hobby, not a Torres career. You're throwing away your legacy." Lucia gasped. "What will people say? You'll end up a pauper." I stood my ground, heart pounding, and packed my bags the next day, their shouts echoing as I left. New York was a shock-tiny apartment with a mattress on the floor, roaches in the kitchen, and a cafe job pulling 12-hour shifts for $9 an hour. I scraped by, using tips to buy fabric, sketching by the glow of a single bulb. Victor cut my allowance, cold, texting, "Come home, or you're on your own." Lucia sent guilt trips, "We miss you. Think of the family." I ignored them. pouring my soul into designs that fuse Miami's vibrant culture with eco-friendly materials. Jamal followed me up north, crashing on my couch, his camera clicking away at my creations. They'll eat their words, he'd say, editing photos late into the night. Back in Miami, the family reunion was a circus Victor toasted Carlos's promotion. Sophia flaunted a new car from a sponsor, and I stood in a thrifted dress, sketchbook in hand. Sophia smirked. "Still playing dress up, Mia?" Carlos chimed in. "Dad's right, you'll fail. Join us or you're nothing." Their laughter cut deep, but it lit a fire. I smiled through it, vowing to turn their mockery into my triumph. The struggle was real. My scholarship covered tuition, but rent and materials drained me. I worked doubles at the cafe, my hands raw from coffee machines, sketching on napkins during breaks. One night, a regular, Ethan, a lawyer with a kind smile, noticed my designs. "You've got talent," he said, slipping me a $50 tip. "Keep going." His encouragement became a rare beacon. At Parsons, I excelled, winning a campus fashion show with a collection made from recycled ocean plastics. But my family didn't care. Victor missed the call, too busy with a condo launch, and Sophia posted about her latest beach trip. "Nice try, kid," Victor texted when I sent a photo, his tone dripping with pity. Lucia added, "A husband would give you purpose design, won't." I deleted the messages, my resolve hardening. Jamal's photos of my work started gaining traction online, a small following cheering me on. But the tourist silence was deafening. The turning point came at a family Thanksgiving, the 20-foot dining table groaning with turkey and trimmings. Victor praised Carlos's latest deal. Lucia gushed over Sophia's million-view video, and then they turned to me. "Mia, when are you ditching that childish hobby?" Victor demanded, his voice echoing off the marble walls. "You're 20-something, time to grow up." Lucia slid a diamond catalog across the table. "Find someone, dear, before it's too late." I clenched my fists, my sketchbook burning in my lap. Ethan, who'd become a friend, had warned me about their pressure, but hearing it live was a gut punch. Sophia giggled. "Still no real job, huh?" "Cute." Carlos nodded. "Dad's offering a spot ticket, or you're out." The room spun with their disdain, but I saw a Spark Me designs were gaining buzz, and I'd prove them wrong. That night, I called Jamal. "We're building something big, let's make them regret this." The cafe shifts, the thrift store runs, the family snubs, they'd all fuel the fire I was about to unleash. My defiance grew roots. I pitched green thread to a local boutique, pouring my savings $5,000 from tips into samples. Jamal's photos went viral on Instagram, catching the eye of a buyer who offered a $10,000 order. But Victor's texts kept coming. "Come home, we'll forgive you." Lucia's calls pleaded, "Think of the family name." I blocked them, focusing on my craft. At a cousin's wedding, a lavish affair with a $50,000 band, Sophia flaunted her latest deal, Carlos bragged about his bonus, and Victor toasted their empire. Then he eyed me. "Mia, last chance, join us, or you're done." Lucia nodded, "For your own good." I forced a smile, my heart racing with a plan. The mansion's opulence mocked me, but I'd turned their rejection into my revenge. With Jamal's lens and Ethan's legal advice, I was ready to build an empire they couldn't touch, a silent takeover that would leave them speechless. The gala was coming, and I'd spent years stitching together the moment they'd never see coming. The spark for green thread hit me like a lightning bolt one humid Miami night, hunched over my sketch pad in that cramped New York apartment, the hum of the AC unit struggling against the 90-degree heat. I'd been doodling a dress made from recycled ocean plastics, inspired by a cafe regular who'd ranted about pollution ruining our beaches. When it clicked, sustainable fashion could be my ticket out. I poured every dime I had, $20,000 scraped from cafe tips and late-night freelance gigs, into a prototype, my hands trembling as I cut the first pattern. Jamal was all in, his camera snapping every stitch, and within weeks, His Instagram posts of the collection went viral, catching the eye of a boutique owner in Soho who offered a $100 000 order. I was elated, but the high didn't last. Lena, a rival designer with a shark-like grin, stole my sketches at a networking event, her fingers brushing my portfolio as she admired my work. 2 months later, she launched a knockoff line, her name plastered across fashion blogs, and my heart sank. Me dream was slipping away. Panic set in. I was broke, my savings gone, and Lena's theft left me scrambling. I confronted her at a fashion expo in Manhattan, the room buzzing with designers under a 20-foot chandelier, her booth gleaming with my stolen designs. "You'll never make it," she sneered, her voice cutting through the crowd, her crew laughing as I stood there, fists clenched. Humiliation burned my cheeks, but I refused to break. Back in my apartment, I locked the door, skipped sleep for 3 days, redesigning every piece with Jamal's help, his lens capturing the raw determination in my eyes. Ethan, my lawyer friend, advised me to sue, but I had no cash for legal battles. Instead, I pitched to a new investor, a tough-as-nails woman named Claire at a startup mixer. My voice shook as I laid out my vision. The room's 50 attendees watching, some whispering, "She's done." Claire's silence stretched. Then she nodded. "I'll give you $100,000, but prove it works." The pressure was suffocating, but I had no choice. The next hurdle was production. I rented a tiny warehouse in Brooklyn. It's 1,000 square feet filled with secondhand sewing machines, and hired 2 seamstresses, Rosa and Maria, immigrants with skills that put my amateur stitches to shame. We worked 16-hour days, the air thick with fabric dust, surviving on takeout and coffee. Rosa, with her quick hands, taught me shortcuts, while Maria's stories of her village's textile traditions inspired bolder patterns. But Lena struck again. Her knockoff sales surged, undercutting my prices, and a buyer backed out, leaving me $30,000 in debt. I sat on the warehouse floor, head in hands. Jamal's camera paused, his voice soft, "We're not out yet." That night, I got a call. Lena had bribed a supplier to sabotage my fabric order, delivering subpar material that tore under the needle. Rage fueled me. I fired the supplier, tracked down a new one in Jersey, and reworked the designs overnight, my fingers bleeding from the rush. The turning point came at a pop-up market in Queens, a gritty venue with 200 attendees under string lights. I showcased the revamped collection, Rosa and Maria modeling with fierce pride, Jamal's photos projected on a makeshift screen. Claire showed up unannounced, her sharp eyes scanning the crowd. A buyer from a major eco brand approached, offering a $200,000 deal if I could scale up. Claire nodded again. "You've got Gutcher's the check." The room erupted, but my joy was short-lived. Lena stormed in, her face twisted, accusing me of stealing her ideas in front of everyone. The crowd gasped, phones out, recording the showdown. I stayed calm, pulling out my original sketches, dated months before hers, and handed them to Claire. "Check the timestamps," I said, my voice steady. Lena's smirk faded as Claire's lawyer, present by chance, reviewed the evidence. The tension was electric, the crowd holding its breath, until Claire turned to Lena. "You're done here." Lena fled, her reputation in tatters, and the buyer doubled the offer to $400, 000, sealing Green Thread's breakthrough. But the drama wasn't over. Back at the warehouse, I found a note slipped under the door anonymous, but the handwriting screamed, "Lena, I'll ruin you." My heart raced. She'd already cost me time and money. Aisha, a former model I'd hired as a marketer, stormed in, her heels clicking. "She's spreading lies online saying your line's unethical," she warned, showing me a scathing blog post. I paced the 1,000 square foot space feeling like a cage until Ethan called. "I've got a contact at the Fashion Council file, a complaint. We can expose her." I hesitated. The legal fee's a risk, but Aisha's fire lit a spark. "Fight back, Mia," she urged. We drafted the complaint that night, my hands shaking as I signed it. The next day, Lena's knockoff line was pulled from stores pending investigation, her career teetering. I leaned against a sewing machine, exhausted but triumphant. Green thread was mine, and I'd defend it with everything I had. The warehouse buzzed with new energy, Rosa and Maria cheering, Jamal snapping victory shots, and Aisha plotting our next move. This was just the beginning of my silent takeover, and Lena's betrayal had only made me stronger. Over the next 2 years, Green Thread transformed from a scrappy startup into a force to be reckoned with, its valuation climbing to $5 million as eco-conscious brands lined up to partner with us. The warehouse in Brooklyn buzzed with energy, its 1,500 square feet now packed with state-of-the-art sewing machines and a team of 10, including Rosa, Maria, and Aisha, who'd become my unofficial war council. Aisha's marketing genius turned our Instagram into a gold mine, her campaigns racking up millions of views with hashtags like #GreenRevenge, a subtle nod to my fight against Lena. I kept it all under wraps from the Torres family, driving my beat-up Honda Civic to Miami for their lavish gatherings, wearing thrifted dresses that hid the designer labels I could now afford. Victor would boast about Carlos's latest condo deal. Lucia would gush over Sophia's sponsored yacht trip, and I'd sit there, nodding politely, my secret burning like a hidden flame. Mia's still drifting, Victor would chuckle, and Sophia would add, "At least she's consistent," their laughter a familiar sting I'd learned to ignore. The distance grew intentional. After the Gala debacle with Lena, I doubled down on secrecy, knowing my family's reaction would be more about leverage than pride. Aisha, with her sharp instincts, became my confidant, often staying late to strategize over takeout. "They don't deserve to know yet," she'd say, her voice firm as she scrolled through sales figures on her laptop. "Let them choke on their assumptions." I agreed, savoring the irony of their ignorance. My loft in Brooklyn Heights, a 2,000 square foot space with exposed brick and a skyline view, was my sanctuary bought with Green Thread profits, but I told them I still rented a cramped one-bedroom. At a cousin's wedding, a $30,000 affair with a live band and a dance floor that sparkled, Sophia sneered. "Still no real job, huh, Mia?" I smiled, hiding the fact that my latest collection had just sold out in 24 hours at a boutique on Fifth Avenue. Carlos, ever the opportunist, patted my shoulder. "Dad's got a spot for you, take it before it's too late." Their words fueled my resolve, each jab a stitch in the fabric of my silent revenge. The success was intoxicating but isolating. Green Thread's first major deal came with a $500,000 contract from an eco-retailer, and Aisha's viral video of Rosa and Maria modeling our designs hit 10 million views. I hired Ethan part-time as legal counsel, his calm demeanor a counterbalance to my growing paranoia about leaks. We expanded to a second warehouse, adding 15 more employees, and my designs were featured in Vogue, though I used a pseudonym to keep the Torres name out of it. At family Thanksgiving, the 20-foot dining table groaned with turkey and trimmings, Victor praising Carlos's $2 million deal, Lucia fawning over Sophia's latest influencer summit invite. "Mia, any progress on that hobby?" Victor asked, his tone dripping with mockery. I forced a laugh. "Something like that," while Aisha texted me a sales update, $1 million in a week. The gap widened, their dismissal a shield for my growing empire. The tension peaked at a charity gala Victor hosted, a $50,000 event with a 30-foot buffet and a who's who of Miami elite. I wore a thrifted gown, my latest collection's prototype tucked in my bag, and endured their jabs. Sophia flaunted a $10,000 handbag, Carlos bragged about his corner office, and Lucia whispered, "When will you settle, Mia?" I nodded, my mind racing with plans for a New York runway show. Ethan, attending as my +1, sensed my unease. "They're blind to your fire," he murmured, sipping champagne. "Keep it that way until you're ready." I did, plotting a reveal that would shatter their world. The mansion's opulence mocked me, but each snub was a thread in my tapestry of triumph. Aisha's latest pitch expanding to elapromise $10 million more, and I hit it all. The silence between me and my family growing into a chasm I'd soon cross with a vengeance they'd never forget. The annual Tours Gala loomed like a storm on the horizon, a glittering spectacle at our Miami estate where the chandeliers cast a golden glow over 200 guests, the 50-foot pool shimmering with floating candles, and the air thick with the scent of expensive perfume and power plays. I arrived in a thrifted black dress, my heart pounding with a mix of dread and anticipation, knowing this night would be different. Victor stood at the head of the room, toasting Carlos's promotion to senior VP with a $3 million bonus, his voice booming over the clink of crystal glasses. Lucia hovered nearby, gushing over Sophia's latest million-follower milestone and her sponsored trip to the Maldives, her diamond earrings catching the light. Then their eyes turned to me, the family's quiet misfit, and the room seemed to hold its breath. Victor's smile faded into a hard line. "Mia, you've had your fun with that fashion nonsense," he said, his tone cutting like a blade. "It's time to join the family business or we're cutting you off." No inheritance, no support, nothing. Lucia nodded, her voice syrupy. "For your own good, dear. You can't drift forever." The crowd murmured, pitying stares pinning me in place. I forced a smile, my hands trembling under the table as Jamal, my +1, squeezed my knee in silent support. The gala's opulence, the $20,000 catered spread, the live jazz band felt like a mockery as Victor continued, "You've embarrassed us long enough. Sign over your share of the family trust, or you're out." My stomach dropped. Ethan, my lawyer friend, had warned me about this. During a pre-gala meeting, he'd slipped me a note. "Victor's planning to freeze your accounts, claiming abandonment. He's got papers ready." I'd laughed it off, but now, with the family lawyer, Mr. Hargrove, hovering nearby with a briefcase, the threat was real. Sophia smirked. "Finally, Mia, some accountability." Carlos leaned in, his cologne overpowering. "Dad's right, join us, or you're done." The room spun, their words a noose tightening around my dreams. I stayed silent, my mind racing, plotting a counterstrike as the band played on, oblivious to the drama unfolding. The tension escalated when Lucia pulled me aside near the pool, her grip on my arm tight. "Sign the papers tonight, Mia," she whispered, her smile a mask. "We've already drafted them, your trust fund, the beach house share, all gone unless you comply." I yanked my arm free, my voice low. "You'd steal from me after years of ignoring me." She flinched, then recovered. "It's for the family legacy, dear. You don't understand business." Back at the table, Victor handed me a document-thick legal jargon, filled, demanding I relinquish my inheritance. "Sign it, or you're cut off by midnight," he growled, his eyes cold. Jamal's jaw tightened, and Aisha, who tagged along as my stylist, texted me under the table, "Hold steady, we've got your back." I scanned the room guests, whispering, Hargrove smirking, and realized this was a calculated ambush, a move to crush my independence before I could rise. The plot thickened when Ethan, blending into the crowd, slipped me another note. "Victor's bribed a bank exec to freeze your green thread accounts tomorrow unless you sign." My blood ran cold, my company, my lifeline was at stake. I excused myself, stepping into the garden, the 80-degree night air doing little to cool my fury. Aisha followed, her heels clicking. "They're playing dirty," she hissed. "We need to act fast." I called Ethan, my voice shaking. "Can we stop this?" He paused, then said, "Yes, but we need proof. Record their threats." I nodded, returning to the table with my phone on, hidden in my purse. Victor leaned in. "Last chance, Mia. Sign, or you're nothing." Lucia added, "Think of the family name." I played along. "I need time to read it." Stalling as the recorder captured every word, the Gala's laughter faded into a distant hum, the stakes higher than ever. The confrontation peaked when Sophia, emboldened by wine, taunted, "What's green thread gonna do for you now, Mia? Sell rags?" Carlos laughed. "Dad's offer's your only shot." I stayed calm, my heart a drumbeat, waiting for the right moment. Jamal whispered, "They're digging their own grave." The band struck up a slow tune, guests swaying, but my focus was laser sharp. Victor slammed the pen down. "Midnight, Mel, you're out." Hargrove nodded, briefcase open, ready to seal my fate. The garden shadows loomed, the pool's reflection dancing with tension. I glanced at Aisha, she nodded, her marketing mind already spinning a plan. This wasn't just about survival. It was about turning their scheme into my victory. The clock ticked toward midnight, and I knew the Torres family was about to face a reckoning they'd never seen coming. The clock in the Torres Gala Hall ticked toward midnight, its hands a relentless countdown to my supposed doom, as the 50-foot pool outside reflected the chandelier's golden glow like a taunting mirror. I sat at the table, the unsigned document burning a hole in my lap, Victor's pen still hovering like a guillotine blade. The room buzzed with whispered speculation, guests sipping champagne, oblivious to the family drama unfolding. My heart pounded as Aisha slipped me a glance, her eyes signaling readiness. While Jamal's grip on his phone tightened, he was recording every word. Victor leaned in, his voice a low growl. "Midnight, Mia. Sign or you're cut off, and your little fashion stunt ends tomorrow when the bank freezes your accounts." Lucia nodded, her smile brittle. "It's for the best, dear," Sophia giggled. "No more playing dress up," and Carlos smirked. "You're out of moves." The tension was suffocating, but I held my ground, my recorder capturing their threats, Ethan's advice echoing in my mind. Proof was my weapon. Then, as the clock struck 11:45, my phone buzzed Aisha's emergency signal. I stepped away, the garden's warm night air hitting me as I answered. "Mia, it's happening!" Aisha's voice crackled with excitement. "Vogue just confirmed your collection's front page feature, and we hit $10 million in pre-orders from the New York Fashion Week teaser. The eco brands are begging to partner." My breath caught. Green Thread's valuation had skyrocketed. A silent empire built from their shadows. I returned to the table, phone on speaker, my voice steady. "Aisha, say that again for everyone." The room fell silent as she listed the deals. The $10 million figure hanging in the air like a thunderclap. Victor's glass slipped, shattering on the marble floor. Lucia's fork clattered. Sophia's jaw dropped. "That's impossible," Carlos barked, his bravado crumbling. I stood, the gala's 200 guests turning to watch, their murmurs rising like a wave. "While you mocked me, I built an empire," I said, my voice cutting through the jazz band's soft notes. "Green Thread's worth $10 million, and I own 60%, $6 million of it mine." Victor's face paled, his calculating mind reeling. This changes things," he stammered, reaching for the document. "Let's invest. Mia family should profit together." I snatched the papers, tearing them in half, the sound sharp in the stunned silence. "No deals. You wanted me out. Stay out," Lucia gasped. "But you're a Torres. We can help," I laughed, cold and clear. "Help! You tried to steal my future. I don't need your money now." The drama escalated when Lena, Sophia's guest, slunk into the room, her knockoff line still fresh in the press. Jamal, quick on his feet, pulled up his phone evidence of her theft, leaked online minutes ago by Aisha's team. "Look at this," he announced, projecting the screenshots onto a wall screen. The crowd gasped as Lena's designs, identical to mine, flashed before them, her bribery of the supplier exposed. "You're done, Lena," I said, my voice steel. She lunged at me, but Ethan stepped in, his lawyer's authority halting her. "Assault on top of theft good. Luck with that, he warned. Lena fled, her reputation in ruins, Sophia's face a mask of shock as her ally crumbled. Victor tried to salvage control, his voice shaky. Mia, let's negotiate. Your success is our success. I shook my head. You disowned me an hour ago. My success is mine alone. Carlos interrupted. Dad, we can't let her cut us out think of the family fund. But the guests were whispering, phones out, recording the showdown. Aisha stepped forward, her marketing savvy in full swing. Green Thread's launching a Rise collection tomorrow dedicated to those crushed by family doubt. Pre-orders are already at $12 million. The room erupted, some applauding, others staring in disbelief. Ethan handed me a legal notice. Your accounts are secure. Victor's bank contact backed off when I threatened a lawsuit. Victor's shoulders slumped, his scheme unraveling. The climax hit when Sophia, desperate, pleaded, Mia, help Brian's campaign. Your brand could boost him. I turned, my gaze icy. My speaking fee's $50,000, Sophia. Pay up or stay out. Her mouth opened, then closed, the room's tension snapping like a broken string. Victor tried one last time. We're family, Mia, don't do this. I stepped back, Jamal and Aisha flanking me. Family doesn't betray. I'll decide what we are when I'm ready. The gala's glamour faded as I walked out, the crowd parting, my revenge a quiet storm that left them reeling. Outside, the night air was electric, Green Thread was unstoppable, and their plot had only made me stronger. The night after the gala, the Torres mansion's glittering chaos faded into a distant memory as I stood on the balcony of my Brooklyn loft, the city skyline stretching out like a promise kept. Green Thread's $12 million pre-order surge had cemented my victory, but the real win was the silence from my family, no calls, no texts, just the hum of my own success. I leaned against the railing, the 2000 square F-oot space behind me, a testament to my journey. Its exposed brick walls adorned with Jamal's framed photos of our early days. Aisha burst in, her grin wide, waving a tablet. Mia, the Rise collection just sold out online, $15 million in 24 hours, and the Fashion Council banned Lena for life. I laughed, the weight lifting, but my mind turned to the future. This wasn't just revenge, it was a foundation to build on. The next day, I launched the Rise Thread Initiative, a $2 million fund to mentor young designers from underserved communities, inspired by my own fight. Aisha managed it with her usual fire, recruiting Rosa and Maria to teach sewing skills, while Jamal documented their stories, his camera capturing hope in every frame. Ethan, now my full-time counsel, drafted the legal framework, ensuring the fund was untouchable by family meddling. At the kickoff event in a Harlem community center, a 16-year-old girl, Nia, approached me, her eyes bright. My dad says, fashion's a waste can, I really do this. I knelt, meeting her gaze. Define your own worth, Nia. I did, and you can too. Her smile was my fuel, a reminder of why I fought. Family contact dwindled to a trickle. Victor sent a stiff email. Let's discuss business opportunities lunch next week. I declined, polite but firm. Lucia's invites to galas were ignored, except for a children's charity event where Green Thread donated $100,000. My terms clear. No family photo ops. Sophia's texts begging for brand collabs with Brian's campaign got a flat no, though I tossed in a $50,000 speaking fee quip for kicks. The only warmth came from Ethan, who'd become a brotherly figure, and Jamal, whose lens had chronicled my rise. At a family Christmas, I limited my stay to 2 hours, Aisha as my buffer, the 10-foot tree a backdrop to their awkward smiles. We're proud, Victor muttered, but I saw the dollar signs in his eyes. I'm not here for that, I replied, walking out with my head high. The true triumph was internal. Therapy, suggested by Aisha, helped me unpack the need for their approval. My therapist, Dr. Hayes, asked, "What if they never get it?" The question stung, but it freed Mimi Worth, wasn't their validation. I built deeper bonds with Aisha, Jamal, and Ethan, a chosen family who'd believed in me from the start. At a Green Thread runway show, Nia modeled my latest design, her confidence a mirror to my own. "You changed my life," she whispered backstage. I hugged her. "You changed mine too." The crowd's applause was for us both, a sound sweeter than any family praise. 6 months later, Green Thread hit $20 million in revenue. Its designs in 50 stores nationwide. I spoke at high schools, urging kids to chase their dreams, my story a rallying cry against doubt. One boy, 14, asked, "What if my family hates it?" I smiled. Build a life so true, their opinion fades. Find your people. His nod was a victory. Back at the loft, my phone buzzed Victor again. "Let's collaborate." I blocked it, turning to my laptop to plan a global expansion. The Torres legacy could keep its mansions. Mine was in the fabric, the faces, the futures I'd lifted. At a Rise Thread Gala, I raised a glass, the room filled with my team and mentees. To authentic success, I toasted, not measured by bank accounts, but by the lives we touch. To those who believed in me before the money, and to defining our own legacy. Aisha cheered, Jamal snapped a shot, and Nia beamed. The Torreses, present by my invite, clapped awkwardly, their pride hollow. Driving home, I reflected. Their rejection had forged my strength, and my revenge was living a life they couldn't touch. Drop a rise in the comments if you've overcome family doubt, and subscribe to PA Revenge Stories for more tales of triumph. Your power is yours to claim on it.